any Republicans want to explain this phenomena to me where it is the left's fault for Charlie Kirk's death, because I genuinely do not understand the outrage that y'all have towards the left regarding this situation when it's liberal policies that would have kept him safe in the first place.
So she's talking, I'm guessing, about gun control when she says liberal policies. The only flaw in that is he used a bolt action rifle, meaning that you have to rack a bullet in every time you pull the trigger. So you rack it in, the shell shoots out, another one goes in.
Like, the left is basically responding to this like, we told you so, but like, don't have a lot of sympathy for a person who was misogynistic and racist, and then y'all respond that like it's the liberals that killed him in the first place. I personally just think it's like, you guys can't internally reflect on your own morals or your own values and see anything wrong with your own strategy or plan, so you just have to take that anger out on any scapegoat you can find.
Okay. So I don't mean to pick on her, but I've seen a lot of these videos and I just have to save hers. So this is again from the Vox article. The comforting fiction that Charlie Kirk's killer was far right, why some progressives lied to themselves about Tyler Robinson. So this article actually, it's very interesting because it goes into the whole thing of Jimmy Kimmel and why he said what he said to get fired from his job, and like kind of the whole root of where that rhetoric or the narrative that the killer was a conservative comes from. So let's get into it, all right? There's a deep human impulse to whittle reality down into a familiar or self-flattering fairy tale or fairy tales. We all gravitate toward information that validates our preconception and vindicates our in-groups. It is cognitively taxing to revise one's model of the world, and it is emotionally uncomfortable to recognize the fault of our allies or merit in our adversaries. So we are all tempted to sand the jagged edges off an event until they fit into an convenient frame. Okay, next. I don't know why my notes are running all of a sudden. Okay. Conservatives, by contrast, often recoil at moral complexities, and their leadership is unbound by any sense of fatality for the truth. Or so the progressive historian Heather Cox Richardson suggested in a recent Substack post. In Richardson's account, McCarthyism taught the American right the political unity of shameless lies by crafting mendacious and simplistic us versus them narratives and repeating them ceaselessly. Conservatives found that they could construct a fictional world which many voters would unknowingly come to inhabit. Liberals are in reality-based community. Liberals in the reality-based community, to use phrase made by the George W. Bush administration, might feel compelled to align their claims with disconcertable facts, but the American right feels no such obligation. So I thought Bush, he was a Republican, so that's kind of confusing why he would say that. Now, an example of conservatism, mendacity, Richardson cites the Trump administration's attempt to pin Charlie Kirk's assassination on the left. And not without reason. The White House brazenly dishonest propaganda about the tragedy does much to support Richardson's portrait of the right. And yet, shortly after the crime, the GOP's prevailing of narrative over facts, Richardson wrote the following. Now, this is the part where I think this is what got Jimmy Kimmel in trouble. okay, is this narrative here. So this is what Richardson wrote. In fact, the alleged shooter was not someone of the left. The alleged killer, Tyler Robinson, is a young white man from a Republican gun enthusiast family who appears to embrace the far right, disliking Kirk for being insufficiently radical. Rather than grappling with reality, right-wing figures are using Kirk's murder to prop up their fictional world. Now, this is interesting because later on we find out that the shooter, Tyler Robinson, didn't really believe or follow, his parents' political ideals. So Richardson's post, in fact, deftly illustrates the hazard of tribalistic thinking and epistemic immodesty, not just not quite in the manner that it intended. When Richardson published her column on September 13, there was no sound basis for asserting that Robinson was not someone on the left, much less that he was far-right extremist who killed Kirk for being inadequately reactionary. And charging documents released on Tuesday indicate that Richardson's narrative was false. Nevertheless, that narrative was recently pervaded within social media left-wing corners. In fact, the idea that Robertson was proven reactionary became so widespread among liberals that ABC's late-night host, Jimmy Kimmel, felt safe paying lip service on it on Monday. Even after Tuesday's revolutions, the few left-wing influencers continue to promote the idea Robinson opposed Kirk from the right, explaining away evidence to the contrary with conspiracy theories. So that's just like the video we just watched, right? She was confused why we are blaming the left, which honestly, I don't blame left or right, I blame the person. All right, it's the person's actions who do the deed. Just like it's not the gun who kills people, it's people who kill people. The gun's just an object or a tool, left or right. It's not the people. Most people wouldn't pick up that gun and shoot anybody, as far as I know, and as far as I hope, actually. So let's continue on. The left embrace of comforting fictions about Kirk's assassination is understandable, but it is also irresponsible and politically self-defeating. To truly inhabit the reality-based community, progressives must not merely spotlight the right's fantasies, but stand more watchful guard of our own. So here's kind of the breakdown of like what we know so far about Tyler Robinson. Okay, so on Tuesday, authorities in Utah filed charges against Robinson for aggravated murder. 3 pieces of evidence in the indictment suggest that Robertson's objected to Kirk's political policies from the left. Robinson's mother told investigators that her son became more political and had started leaning more to the left. Okay, that's from his mother. Becoming more pro-gay and trans-right oriented. His mother also said he began to date his roommate, a biological male who was transitioning genders. Robinson also texted a confession to his roommate after the shooting, referring to his roommate as "my love," and saying that Kirk had enough of his hatred. Some hatred cannot be negotiated with. Robinson's parents told investigators that he had explained his crime to them in similar terms, saying that Kirk spreads too much hate. The indictment is not the last word of Robertson's motivation, or for that matter, his guilt. He hasn't been proven guilty yet. So there is that, but nothing in the assembled evidence supports the narrative that Robertson was far right. Okay. So this is an interesting part of the story. I didn't know what a groper was. Did you? Did you know what a groper was? If so, leave it in the comments, because I had no idea. It seems like these new words pop up all the time, and like they're new to me, so I have to like research them. And this is like all the time, even common words. Like I'll hear a common word, and then I hear it over and over again. I'm like, why am I like just realizing what this word means? Okay, anyway, groper refers to okay. So a groper refers to a variation of Pepe the Frog, a meme that the alt-right has co-opted. The meme gained online traction on platforms like the fringe right site 4chan in 2017. Never heard of that. According to the Anti-Defamation League, and was adopted by alt-right followers. They describe themselves as Christian nationalists, oppose feminism and LGBTQ plus rights, and believe the U.S. should close its borders. A little more into the groper thing, because like this is new to me. Gropers became associated in 2019 with Fuentes, an underground podcaster labeled as a white supremacist by the FBI. Fuentes, who once denied with President Trump and rapper Ye at Mar-a-Lago, has since turned against the president. He was previously banned from Twitter, both pre and post Elon Musk, but Musk announced last May that he would reinstate Fuentes on X. Okay, a little more and then we're going to move back to the article. Okay, gropers often confront more mainstream organizations like Kurt's Turning Point USA for failing to promote their vision of an American First agenda, according to the Anti-Defamation League. Okay, so done with the groper thing, right? So we kind of got the groper basis down. Okay, so if the groper theory lacked a solid factual basis, however, it offered considerable psychological appeal. It is uncomfortable to accept that you share the worldview or even a strong view strong moral convictions with perpetrators of terrible crimes. To avoid such discomfort, people often latch onto improbable narratives. To absolve MAGA of the January 6th mayhem, many conservatives embrace the theory that the riot was orchestrated by Antifa or even the FBI. To avoid grappling with atrocities committed in the name of a cause they supported, some on the far left decided the October 7th attacks were a false flag operation to deny Israel's inhuman crimes against the people of Gaza. Its defenders tell themselves stories that attribute to the culpability for the Jewish state's violence to its enemies. We're almost done, I promise. Okay. So I think some progressives replaced confidence in Robertson's conservatism was rooted in a similar impulse, which is not to say that hasty assumptions about the killer motives are morally comparable to apologetic or genocidal violence. And the sidekick appeal of the groper theory enables it to become common sense among substantial portions of progressives, such as the writers of Jimmy Kimmel Live, evidently felt comfortable instituting that Robertson was a conservative. So we're seeing many influencers, as the article suggests, come on and say, I don't understand why the left is blaming the right. And again, I don't think it's a left or right thing, as my friend Ryan Smith says. It's a human thing. One person did it. It wasn't a left or right person, or it was, their views, I guess, but it's not everybody's guilty on that side or this side of the aisle. And we have to recognize that. So it's just, I don't know. We're coming to point the fingers of looking at what their beliefs are rather than who they are as a person. So it's really interesting. All right, that was a lot to go through. Sorry, that article was longer than usual. This is a 20-minute video. I normally don't go into it for 20 minutes. But basically, we need to have a conversation, folks. And left, right, like our neighbors, we don't see the same political views as each other, but we can still have conversation. Our kids still play together. I don't blame them for what happened to Charlie Kirk, and nor should I. They didn't do it. So I guess that's the moral of this whole article, which I actually really enjoyed reading this. I never read Vox. This is the first time. So I appreciate that. Now, with that being said, that was a lot to go through. If you like this type of content, this is where I do the plugs. So if you like this type of content, follow, all that good stuff, and we'll see you in the next video.